Hey, so it got warm again, but I don't expect that to last long because it is still winter, and it's also wet and horrible outside, so actually getting out to my shop is going to be a little bit annoying. So I thought I would move my work indoors, like I said I've been wanting to do for a while. My first thought for doing that was this 2x6 plank here that I've got some dog holes drilled into, and I was using that on the sawhorses that I made in the previous video. And that actually works surprisingly well. There's some tasks that it can't do very well, like I would have to be like upside down almost to cut dovetails on that thing. So I'm still experimenting with some other methods for that. But overall, it makes me more aware of my body while I'm doing the work, and it's kind of been improving my posture. But it's still kind of annoying to do certain tasks. So I figured I would cut some notches into this thing and use this 2x4 to pop some legs on it. So I've always wondered why they call it a workbench when that's clearly a table. You're not working at a bench, you're working at a table. Look around you, that's what a table looks like. Well, it turns out that workbench as a term has kind of like passed in and out of the lexicon of a whole bunch of different languages, because the style that was popular before the Rubo table was like a bench, like an actual like bench with some dog holes in it, and that goes back to like 500 BC at least. There are like old frescoes of carpenters at a bench that is a lot more like a bench, you know? And we definitely know that people did it because they did it in the Byzantine Empire, or the countries that used to belong to the Byzantine Empire up until extremely recently. So we actually still have some of these like floating around. A lot of them have been retrofitted with newer things, like you can find one with a big screw vise on it, but I like the idea, and I thought I would make one. And it also serves as a really nice, like, intro build. What are you gonna do if you, let's say, live in the city, or in an apartment in general, and you want to do woodworking, but you don't want to be loud, and you also have almost nothing? I want to build it in a way that's quiet, and that you can do just totally from scratch. So for starters, I'm going to be working in the kitchen because it's easy to sweep linoleum. Alright, the first thing that needs doing is we need to measure this thing. So I want it to be so that when it comes right to the top of my thigh when I lean down, with a little bit of extra room in case I'm wearing shoes, because I might move this outside later. So now I already have that measure from waking the sawhorses, but let's see, right about there. 18 inches just in socks right here, plus a little bit for the shoes, plus a little bit for evening the surface down. I'm going to put that at 20. Now when I brought this board inside to let it adjust to the moisture content of the air in here, it was straight, and it twisted up pretty badly. So I've already flattened this with a plane to just, not flat, but like to take the twist out, because I want this section to be square to this spot. And to remember which side is like perfectly level to itself, because I only did it on one side so that I can flatten the top later, I put little trees on it. They're quick to draw, they have a definite up and a definite down. Like, I'm not gonna, if I let this season for like a month, I may not remember if the arrow points up or if the arrow points down, unless I already have an established way of doing that. Well, trees always have an up and a down, and it's like it's a nice little piece of whimsy that I think makes work a little more pleasant. Okay, so how to arrange this? So I'm using this board and another one the same thickness over there to keep it up off the ground so that I have a little bit more room to work with this. First I'm going to turn it up on the edge because it's easier to measure off the edge. I'm going to take my marking knife. I retooled my marking knife a little bit. I carved this, well, first I put a handle on it, then I carved this so you can see which side the bevel's on just from looking at it. You don't have to like carefully inspect the edge. And you can tell by touch too. That's kind of convenient. I'm going to make a little jab right there. Hopefully I'm still in the shot. Actually, I should see if I'm still in the shot. Okay. Yeah. Set that in the little dot I made. Give it some marks there. And I'm going to transfer that to the sides and then use that to cut it. Actually, yeah, on this side it's a little better because it poking out there means I have something to line up the line underneath it too. That looks pretty good. Don't just go striking away at that. Make sure you're actually square to it on both sides, because I've had a couple of them where it was off like that, and when it goes straight, now you got to remember which line is which. Okay. So this marking isn't going to be perfect because this wasn't dimensioned or anything like that. But that's why we have our extra length, huh? Okay, I got my saw ready. I'm gonna get my knee on that to stabilize it. And I'm gonna make my little starter cut here too. Not too close. There we go. Right there, dead on. Right there. Gotta start nice and slow. Got my trench all the way across it. And I'm slowly dropping my hand down here to draw this length out so that I don't go wandering off the line. Okay, now do the other side. I like starting my cuts on the far side, so I'm going to go ahead and do the first little step of this again. There we go. Now we're going to connect the dots here. We don't have a line to guide us here, so we're just going to have to not suck. It would be irresponsible for me to tell you to do it this way, but I'm going to do it anyway because I want to use this as an opportunity to improve my skills of sewing straight. Get a little bit more stabilization on that. There we go. Now I'm actually going to be attacking it from the other side, the side that I know is square, because that on the bottom was just so that when you saw all the way through it, it doesn't take a chip with it. Okay, put the knife away, and I'm just going to saw straight down. Now the trench that we've already cut is going to keep us straight this way. What we have to worry about is keeping straight this way. So you're going to use the reflection from the saw here to make sure that it looks like the ghost of the board is going straight through it, and you're going to make sure that your arm is free-flowing with no obstructions. And then taking it nice and slow. Actually, like putting pressure on it is what causes me to go off mark most of the time. Okay, so I can tell already that my spacer over there isn't close enough because it's flexing down this way the more I cut into it. So I need to move my spacer a little closer. One of the advantages of needing to be quiet while I work is that I slow down and I'm getting better with sawing. Alright, I feel like it's starting to wander. The cut is only widening, it's not going off mark yet, but I don't necessarily trust it. I think then I'm going to turn it on its side there, and I'm going to lengthen out the cut this way. I'm going to do that on both sides and then have them meet. It's probably good that way. Now, if I weren't filming this, I'd come around the... Actually, you know what? I was going to say if I weren't filming this, I'd come around the other side, but I need more practice with my left hand. So, here we go. Alright, I can already tell this feels really weird. Oh boy. I don't know if my sawing skills are good enough for this. But if you're just starting out, you're going to be in my position with any hand. So, here we go, I guess. Okay. After making sure that I went slowly helped a lot. After I got into the rhythm of it, that was a lot easier. Okay, so if I just let go of this, it wants to go up. Meaning that it's going to lift itself out, so it's definitely not going to bind up on me. I can already see it widening up here on the top. So that's waving interestingly. Let's just lift that up. Oh boy, we really didn't have much there. Yeah, maybe a 1/16 of an inch of wood just snapped right there. I can flatten that with a file, or I'm more than likely just gonna leave it. Okay, now to do the other straight up leg. I'm gonna do the legs on one side straight up, and then the legs on the other side raked out so that I can butt it up against the stuff and have extra room depending on what I want. And I'm thinking about a system where I'd be able to clamp something upright this way, but I haven't decided on all the details of it yet. I need a way to do dovetails on this thing. So I got my square legs cut. Now to do the splayed legs. There's a reason that I chose a speed square, and that's because this side is a protractor. So let's work out the splay of the legs. And just I tried to find if there was a best set of angles to use for leg splay, and if there is one, nobody has yet discovered a formula for finding it. So I'm just gonna eyeball it and go with whatever I like. All right, so let's see. Yeah, that looks good to me. Because I want it to be out enough that it takes like side force, but not by too much so that it doesn't project too far past the bench itself. So I'm going with 23 degrees. So I'm afraid that if we want to turn that angle into a length, we're going to have to use math. I made a triangle with a 20-inch straight side there and an angle of 20 degrees, and then did some math and came out to 21 3/4 basically. And then if you add the little wedge piece on, because these are similar triangles, you scale it a bit, then you get a total length that I'm going to have to cut of 24.85 if I wanted to cut it out in square blocks like that and then cut the angle. What I'm probably actually going to do is use the square side on this one, come in 21 3/4 inches, and then just cut the angle there, and then from that edge do the same thing to the other side. Now, if you don't feel like doing all of this math here, you could probably just ask Wolfram Alpha. There's angle calculators all over the place, but Wolfram Alpha is the I don't feel like doing the math, here computer do this math for me kind of place. Use it for this kind of problem a lot, but I felt like doing this one by hand. Oh, I don't want to give the wrong impression or anything. I did all that measuring before I bought the 2x4 to make sure that it would be the right length, because there are lots of lengths of 2x4, and I wanted to make sure that it would actually like fit me, so I kind of planned around that. Yeah, I probably could have mentioned that. Now the way that I'm doing these is I want it to be like this, not like this, because this is only 2 inches thick and this is 4 inches thick, and I'd rather the weight be hinging down on something that's 4 inches thick. So we're going to measure this the same basic way as before. We're going to take an edge here. We're going to bring that out. Make our mark on the, this time it's going to be 21 and 3/4. Okay, we're going to square that across. Making sure that's actually square. Very good. Okay, so now how to do this angle here. Well, there's 2 ways that come to my mind. One, and if this speed square is all you have, then you're going to make sure that that's on the line there, and then take your angle. But I think it would be a little safer if you did it on the other side, if you did it out that way. So let's see, if this is our top edge, and that needs to be 21 3/4 inches, then it has to splay out this way, because we're going to be taking the angle off that way. And this would be where you really need to have your lumber dimensioned, because it's where I'm at, it's pretty rounded over there. So instead, I'm going to cheat it, because I happen to have a bevel gauge here. So I'm going to get something that's pretty square, in this case my 2x6 here, and I'm going to set my angle. 3 degrees. There we go. Alright, then I'm going to take my bevel gauge. I'm going to run these to each other. And that's my angle. You could also set down a piece of paper or something like that. I've used this trick before, where you set down a piece of paper underneath this and get it out, and you draw the line there so that it crosses the very edge of the paper. Then when you cut that out, you have a perfect angled template that you can lay over your work. But since I have a bevel gauge, I'm going to use it. No offense. Okay, so that's 21, so it needs to slant this way. So I need to hold it that way. And set it long enough. Alright, well, I'm going to take a second crack at that, and I'm going to make sure that this is long enough. There we go. That'll do it. Okay. Lining this up is going to be tricky. I got to get directly over it and make sure that it hits the corner. Now, if you don't have a speed square, and you also don't have a bevel gauge, like if you just had a tape measure and a ruler, the one thing that you could do is do a little bit more math and determine how long this has to be. Measure out to here, measure out to here. Have your 2 sides here squared off, and then use the ruler to connect them that way, which would be another idea. I should do that in a video sometime. There we go. Now if we did that halfway decently, I'm going to carry that line through to the corner. So it's right there, and nope, I can't quite see it on this side here. Let's see, it's right there. Going through that knot's going to be a little tricky. I probably should have done this the other way around. Oh boy, that's quite off. Alright, well, I trust this angle a little bit more than I trust the other angle, so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use this angle right here and square it off. Wow, that almost worked. There we go. Oh, actually, looking at it, if you continue that forward, yeah, it's just that the knot was screwing me up. Okay, yeah, that is pretty on. Alright, but just to reduce the possibility of errors, I'm going to be using my corner trick on both edges here. Okay, you couldn't see it because the saw was in the way, but what I had to do right there is I had to, because the corner was being fussy because of that knot right there, I had to put my fingers here. I'll show you from the other side. I had to put my fingers down and use that to square it up and make sure that it's tracking properly. Man, I really hope the camera's rolling. I don't remember if I hit record and focus. Why, yes I did. Very good. Okay, now for the trickiest part. Now, if you've got a chisel, then you can cut that line a little deeper. And if you're trying to be quiet, the way that I am right now, you could still line it up and then just bear into it a little bit. And that'll do the work that you need. I have a pretty sharp marking knife, so I'm hoping that that cut in a little bit. And I'm going to broaden that out with my actual knife. You may only have the one knife. And if you have none, then you should consider getting a knife, because they're very versatile. I look all scrunched up, I bet. Trying to be careful. And I don't have a whole lot of room behind me. I can move up, but yeah, it's a small kitchen. Alright, I'm going to give myself a little extra light on that side so that I can make sure that I'm tracking properly. But I also want it to be clear for you. I really can't stress enough how you should be going slowly for this. It's easy to screw up otherwise. Once that's established and everything, while I'm doing it in the first place, I'm not worried about roll this way, because I just want it to go in like not even a 1/16 of an inch. That will form my track, and then I can straighten up, and then I can worry about alignment this way, because it's already keeping me on alignment from this way. I do recommend, because I've done this before, that you go in a little bit from one side and flip around and go in a little bit from the other side and a little bit from the other side, and like jump around on it a lot, because at least for me, the longer I'm into a cut without flipping around, the worse my cut tends to track. I also found that going into the faces here is easier for me now, at least, than going into the edges, because you have a longer distance to fall off from. Alright, so I'm going to do this side, and I'm going to see when I've got this about 90% of the way cut. So remember when I said that I would cut in from the edge a little bit too? Yeah, apparently that was nonsense, because I tried coming in from the edge after doing the faces a little bit. It did not go well, so I'm just sticking with the faces and trying to stay as precise as possible. As it gets thinner, I have the support moved closer to where I'm cutting. Wow, that was louder than I was expecting. Alright, and it looks like going from the sides got me pretty close. There's a little track that you can see there, probably with shadows. That was pretty spot on. Alright, that means that this is going to sit flat, so my legs are going to be up like that. I'm going to have to take that down separately, which is going to be fun. By which I mean not fun at all. 21 and 3/4. This one I'm expecting again to be uneventful, so I'll see you on the other side. Well, I could also just totally mark up my speed square. Yay! So I may have found something interesting that I probably should have known already, but when I'm sawing this angle right here, I find it's easier when my eye is directly over the saw, and so is my lead shoulder, like where the hinge, where the hinge joint is, right there is right in line. So my hand, my shoulder, and my eye are all in perfect line, and there's a free track flowing through here, so it makes it very easy to cut straight. Well, once again, I didn't plan my shoot very well. Like, I didn't pre-plan the segments and how long they were going to take, so this video is coming out really, really long. So I'm going to do the smart thing finally, and I'm going to split this up into 2 videos. So this is just about cutting the legs. I'm going to talk about all the rest of assembly of this next week.